Welcome to another edition of Rugby League Down South. This week, a Championship 1 special. The London Scholars Chief Executive Hector McNeil talking of the club's plans for 2014. Hemel Stag's head coach Troy Perkins highlights the importance of developing London Academy teams. University of Gloucestershire All Gold, their captain Mike Stewart on how coach Brad Heppy inspires them. Oxford Rugby League coach Tony Benson on the excitement of the progression of their club. And we continue our journey as well into the 2014 Challenge Cup. OK, this isn't a Championship 1 team, but we'll talk to Round 1 winners South West London Chargers as they go on to face Milford Marlins in the second round. Of course, Rugby League Down South were following the winners of each subsequent tie all the way through to the final. So we'll hear from the South West London Chargers later on in the programme. Starting then with some positive news, delighted to say that Rugby League Down South now, the podcast, is linking up with the League Express, with them promoting the podcast on their website. Andy on Twitter saying hard work and dedication has paid off. John says the best Rugby League weekly and superb, fair-minded editor. Well done. And Ian saying well done, well deserved. So you can now access this podcast in all the ways you did previously, but also on the totalrl.com website. For anyone who's listening for the first time on the website, welcome along. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget as well, especially for listeners in the south who may not get access to the papers as such, you can get digital versions of League Express and Rugby League World. You can download online editions, and now you can download Rugby League Down South from the totalrl.com website. Do you know, I get mine delivered to my tablet device. Good late night Sunday reading when I remember that it's Sunday and I should download it. But yes, you can get all the details from totalrl.com, the website there. Any comments on the programme, as I say, are always appreciated on anything you like. I've had numerous emails this week, been good to have. rldownsouth@gmail.com. I am setting up a little small mailing list as well to give you details of the programme specials or any contributions, anything like that. If you want to be on the mailing list, just let me know by emailing rldownsouth@gmail.com. Just put mailing list in the subject or say, can you add me to the mailing list? That's fine. But any of the comments as well on the email, more than welcome. And if you're on Twitter, @Ian Ramsdale or hashtag RLDS. Right, then let's crack on with the Championship 1 special. And we're going to feature the two clubs that we probably don't hear very much from, or maybe not as much as we should do throughout the season. So maybe we'll try and change that this year. But let's start with the Gloucestershire All Gold and Oxford Rugby League. We'll start with Oxford and their head coach, Tony Benson. Of course, two of the new teams that were added to Championship 1 last year, along with Hemel. It made it, for the first time in the sport's history, a truly national division. It again continues in a similar light in 2014 this season, but Oxford and the All Gold and Hemel all have gone about things a different way in how they've established their teams. And I spoke with Tony Benson earlier on and asked him about how, well, with the excitement of the first year, this is, I guess, just the next step down the process.
We had a bit of a plan last year to get things started. We wanted to fast-track the development of local players, and the mandate was to develop local players. So we brought in 8 or 9 players from up north in key positions, and the idea was that they were set around the park, and then we'd have the local players playing inside them and learning as games went on and training. And that did its job for us, and then the plan this year was to cut back on the northern players, and we're down to 4 now, and 2 of those have moved down. So we'll move in the process of moving down to Oxford. So it's quite a different setup this year.
So I guess, those plans that you decided last year, and we've talked about the different ways that the new Championship 1 clubs went about attacking that debut season, but you were quite happy with how that worked, and obviously you've amended things for this year.
Yeah, very happy. It's put us in good stead for this year. We've got some players that have really come on in a long way in a short period, which is ideal. What you don't get in this competition is time. You've got to be up and ready straight away, and we did come into it all pretty late, so we had to accelerate things. And I think it definitely worked. I think it's been great.
And how do you think your squad will compare then to what you had last year? Have you got a stronger squad?
I think so, actually. I think the quality's there because we've got a number of players that developed well last year, don't look out of place, that are, around the other players anymore. That they look very natural, they're very confident, and then we've added the next lot of players to come in, and they've picked up pretty quickly as well already. So I think we're probably stronger. What you do add is a bit more pride and a bit more enthusiasm this year to do well. And there's a lot of competition for positions. So I think we're in a better spot than last, to be honest. I mean, it's difficult to compare us against the opposition at this stage because I don't really know a lot about them. We're so focused on ourselves that you sort of you're pretty insular at this stage. But as far as comparing us to ourselves last year, I think I'm happier now than I was this time last year, definitely.
I don't want to downplay the quality of the competition in Championship 1 because it's a great standard of rugby league, but it must be quite encouraging to know that these clubs who are only entering their second semi-professional year now, and a club like Oxford that was very new last year is already starting to have those homegrown local routes that seem to be working, and as you say, at a level that is satisfactory for Championship 1.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think our measure, Ian, is, first of all, on the field is the number of debutants, and we had 15 of them last year, and 11 of those figured consistently through the season. So, that to me, that's 15 players who would never have dreamed of getting anywhere near a professional pitch before Oxford came along. Just come through a trial and a pathway, which is great. I think we averaged 350 people to each home game, and we expect that to be up to the 700 to 1,000 this year. Toward the end of the season, and I can't see why we can't, because we didn't get time to promote or let people know we were there last year, whereas we've had a bit more time to put some effort in this year, and I think it's paying off already. We've got a reasonable number of season ticket holders and members, and it's quite different. And I think on the other side, looking to the future, is we're just in the process. We've got a second team now in the Southern Conference. We've got an arm around and an umbrella over the Cavaliers and their pennant team, and then we're just putting together a 16s and 18s. Those are all new people to the game and coming along. And then once our touch football season starts in the summer too, I think we're going to be introducing another raft of people to the game. So, looking at success, I think we're heading in the right direction, definitely.
Those crowd numbers are incredibly impressive if you do manage to get those in this year. I mean, that just goes to show, I guess, how much people have enjoyed having rugby league as part of Oxford.
Well, the feedback's been brilliant. We do survey and we do keep an eye on Twitter and the feedback from people coming along. Even for their first game of rugby league has been phenomenal. I think it would have been very rare for someone to come along and not come back. I think, from our feedback, I think that's pretty common. And, when you look at the games that were played, there was 2 points in a lot of them, and the seesawing games right through, really exciting stuff. It's a fantastic, pitch there. I've never enjoyed coaching so much on game day as I have there, even better than some of the big stadiums I've coached at, because it's got such an atmosphere, and game day is so much fun,
I remember talking to you at the Championship launch last year. Couldn't get there this year, but I remember you just being so excited about the season and you couldn't wait to get going. You'd really bought into this Oxford thing and the project and what was going to happen. It does sound like that enthusiasm and that excitement you still have.
Well, more so. It ended up over-delivering for me. It was much better than I expected. It's a great atmosphere to play and coach at, so I can only imagine what it's like for somebody sitting there, taking a nip and enjoying a few nice ciders on a not sunny day. It's just the perfect atmosphere. And the other thing, Ian, and I think a good measure of that is how many of our family want to be there. And I know that, my wife sort of picked and choose the games in the past for me. She's at every game. She won't miss them. My son won't miss them. And, they have a great day out. So, the other players are the same. Even the ones travelling from up north, I think we had 20 or 30 people come down from the north every week. So, something must be right. Something must be good.
That's fantastic. That's great numbers. Great numbers, really.
Yeah.
And I guess has it brought more out of you as a coach in any way? Do you think?
Oh, I've loved it. just the response of the local players and being able to get them involved and genuinely get them from being amateur players or local rugby union players to being fully fledged professional players is just such a buzz for me. And seeing them do so well and enjoy it, I really got a lot out of last year, and I'm looking forward to this year.
And I know that the men that are behind the club, people like Tony Colquitt, they didn't just think they were going to do things within a year or two and it was all going to happen. They're in this for the long term. They really think it's viable and they really think it's obviously worth doing. It just seemed that way at the moment. And to think the incredible progress that you've made within a year, to see that again this year would be impressive, but I'm sure it'll go further than that.
Well, it will. And, one of the great things, Ian, is we've had no problem getting volunteers and quality volunteers on board. And people have jumped in and taken on roles, quite high-tech roles, some of them, and they're quite skilled, and they've jumped in and done it as volunteers, which is, shot us forward in leaps. And I think, Ryan Cousins for a start.
Yeah.
With, he's jumped in and done the media side of things. He's done a fantastic job, and he's, he's now team manager at the same time. So people like that make the club, and we're just finding new ones every day that are jumping in.
Absolutely.
Big Tim, he's a ground announcer, and now he's taken over as match day manager as well. And it's, I think some of the publications we're putting out, our website and stuff like that, is better than Super League clubs. And I'm not saying that loosely. I really mean it. People will be surprised at some of the stuff that's come out this year. Some of the publications we put out. If people want to read those, they just get onto the website on oxfordrl.com and have a look. There's some pretty good reading there, and you can find out a lot about us.
What do you think on the field for your side this year? How are you going to do, or what? Coaches are always a bit wary, I think, of setting specific targets. But what are you looking at this year?
Well, I'm really excited. We've got some really good players, and we played you can't take too much of the pre-season, but we played a pretty competitive game against Scholars on Saturday night, and all I did was split the squad in half. It's logistically, we're playing Lee this week, so I didn't put any of the Northern players in, and pretty well split the squad in half. Apart from that, without picking a stronger or weaker side, and we're competitive with them. We bombed 3 or 4 tries. We got no kicks at goal. Hope on my behalf that I didn't put a kick on the field. With that, we could have actually won that game with that squad. So you had the players I've got to go in, and it's very, very exciting. I just can't wait for the first game.
Championship one, yeah. Championship one drew a lot of attention last year because of the games, the competitive nature, the things that were happening. I guess it's going to have to be exciting this year to try and draw away a bit of the attention that might be focused on Super League and the Championship with the structural changes that are going to come in this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I've coached in all levels now, but I find this the most exciting. I think it's probably the most entertaining. It's a good open game, and there's plenty of ferocity and defence, and people do make the odd mistake, but that adds to the game. I think it's the quality is very high, and what's happened is, with the Super League changing its structures and the junior structures to the point where players at 19 and are either in the first team or looking for a championship or championship one team, has really lifted the quality, and the style of play has changed to suit the younger, more energetic type player too. So, it's only good for people watching.
And you as a coach and you as a club, do you embrace the changes, the reintroduction of promotion relegation? I'm not saying Oxford are going to be in Super League within 3 years, but there is the potential to build there now. Is that something that Oxford are excited about?
Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely, you always, like right now, I'm thinking, we could be a chance. If we keep going the way we're going, we're certainly a chance. But it's not something where, like some clubs there right now are probably breaking the bank to get out of, certain divisions right now because they can see financial benefit in doing that. We're not doing that because, there's no point us spending a load of money that we haven't got trying to get up, and then where do we find our players? We've got to have a realistic stepping stone and a realistic target for local players to feed through a professional game. Until we've got a side that's ready to jump up into a championship, with adding a few players, we'll be where we are. along those lines, you know, we had Sean Morris 1 year in rugby league, and he's just trialled with the Broncos, played 2 games for them. We've got Matty Haddon, who's first year in rugby league, and he's been up with Sheffield on loan. You know, so the pathways are still there. You know, and those players are you know, probably both with us again this year. So, you know, we get four or five more of those, and then we are probably a championship contender.
And I know that you're out. I was going to say, I know that you're out at the moment. That wasn't the ding of the microwave. Was that the ding of the interview saying time's up?
Well, it'll come from your end, I think. I'll talk to you on my end, you know me.
So yes, not entirely sure where the ding came from. It appeared in my headphones. It appears on the podcast. Tony Benson, I think, heard it. Who knows where it came from? It wasn't a microwave. Maybe it was. Maybe it was a verbal timer to say we've been chatting for too long, so shut up. So we did. But Tony Benson always sounds so exciting. Always great to chat with him. And I could have gone on to talk more with him about, you know, the restructure and the future and things like that. But I thought it was very sensible what he said. You know, it's something that, of course, it's exciting for the future, but really, you know, they're just trying to build something. And I think, as we've said about many clubs, sensible way to do it. If that's something that opens up in the future, then great, but they only want that to happen when there's a sustainable way of doing it. And if you really want to be critical, you could say that, you know, looking at the London Broncos, then being put in Super League all those years ago, the club have really been trying to catch up with that position ever since. You know, they've managed to maintain a Super League position as they've gone. But you look at it the other way, building it up slowly, it's arguably the better way of doing it. So best of luck to Oxford in their season in the Championship 1 this year. This is Rugby League Down South, the Championship 1 special. Let's hear now from the University of Gloucestershire All Gold. I've been chatting with their captain, Mike Stewart.
Mike, well, another season rolls round. It was all very new, I guess, for the Old Golds last year, and it went reasonably well, I guess, in terms of some areas of success, but I'm sure you're looking to build on that on all areas of the field and the club and everywhere for this year.
Yeah, certainly. The first point of the call is that we're still here. So that's the main thing. We're still in the Championship 1. We're still a semi-professional club, so that's the most exciting and fulfilling part for us. The start of last year, we came into it very, very blind. We'd just come from winning a student national title, beating the likes of Leeds Met and Loughborough, who've produced several semi-professional and professional players, most recently Alex Walmsley at St Ellen from Leeds Met. And then to go into that with only a 2-week break into Championship 1 was quite challenging, and we had a very, very steep learning curve, you know, being confident from being national champions, then I think we were on a losing streak of about 12 games. And then some personnel changed mid-season, which lifted the morale, lifted the attitude of the club, and then we managed to pick up 2 wins against 2 local rivals, which are South Wales and Oxford. And then we managed to pick up a draw up at Oldham, which in turn then prevented them from being automatically promoted.
It did. And I guess as well, you know, you talk about the things that have gone on and the things that happened at the start of last year. It's important to, I guess, endorse the fact that you are the University of Gloucestershire All Golds. The tie-in with the university and the links, I mean, it's not, in inverted commas, a university team, but it is a university-run club, isn't it?
Yeah, last year it pretty much was a university team. You know, that 90% of the team were students, and this year I'd say there's only 3 or 4 of us who are still currently studying, and only 1 or 2 of them are undergraduates who are full-time students, and there's 2 or 3 of us who are part-time master's students, which doesn't really tag you as your typical student lifestyle. You know, we're working every day as well, like every other person would do.
But I guess the point is that it's a university-run club, isn't it? And that was always the aim. It wasn't to play a university team in a division. It was to have a fully functioning semi-professional outfit, but tied in with the university.
Yeah, certainly that's what it gives us sustainability. You know, our offices are based within the Oxford campus in Gloucester, so we're very much entwined with all the sports science staff, the physiotherapy staff, the strength and conditioning staff. We get to use the facilities here, which contains an AstroTurf, the sports hall, the public gym, a wrestling studio. We get and what they've just spent £300,000 on a brand new strength and conditioning suite, which contains 8 platforms, where a whole team of 20 odd of you can train doing the same thing, which I bet no other team in our league can boast of.
I'm pretty sure that's a good claim. I'm pretty sure you're probably right there as well, Mike. And I guess as well, with the tie-in with the university, one thing that you've looked at, one thing that you've sold to people is the possibility of scholarships. Coming to study at the University of Gloucestershire and playing rugby league and having financial help whilst doing that.
Yeah, well, that's what attracted me to the university in the first place. I came down 2 years ago now just to study my masters. But it's not just for masters. Then it can be an undergraduate scholarship application. All you need to do is just get in contact with the university or within our club, and we can send out a form, and it's just personal details and rugby CV. And there's slots available. What the scholarship entails is obviously a fee waiver, up to £6,000 worth off your fees each year, and then obviously all the other scholarship applications entail the strength and conditioning support and the physiotherapy support that a professional club could provide that no other university team can provide within a university setup. And
I guess it shows, doesn't it, in the fact that you can prove that this means that people who maybe wouldn't or couldn't play for you before now do. Yeah,
it's certainly a unique selling point, isn't it? No other rugby league club in the world is like this run by a university. I know the likes of Loughborough and Hartbury do it with the rugby union teams, where compete at the same sort of level.
And you talk about the academy as well, and the under-19s, which you coach, don't you? I mean, these are again two emerging teams, two bystanding teams to the first team, all of which is going to help further progression of the Old Golds.
Yeah. Well, I got into it just because I've been coaching the university side that compete during the winter, and I must have been doing something right because I've been given the job as the under-19s coaching job for the academy. So I'll be running that. We literally start this Sunday. We'll start the S&C programme, so get the lads in the gym ready for the first game, which is up in Gateshead, which will be a double header because the first team are at Gateshead and we're playing in the North East Regional Academy the same day. So we'll have a nice little weekend away together there. But it's really exciting. The programme's been going a good few years now, and each year it's just progressed and progressed. No disrespect to the teams that they were playing before, but they were playing the likes of Birmingham Bulldogs and teams like that. Whereas now, our fixture list contains the likes of Keighley Cougars and Oldham, Cumbria Regional Academy. It's second to none. And it's the same for the under-16s. They've been thrust into the RFL scholarship. They're in the same league as the Wigan Warriors and the Leeds Rhinos, and they've even got their fixtures start next Sunday and against Sheffield Eagles down here in Gloucester. So it's very, very exciting times for the academy to be playing at such an elite level.
And do you think, I guess it's probably a triple-pronged question, do you think you can, do you think you will, and do you think there is the possibility of building on what was a tremendous World Cup which involved 2 games down in your neck of the woods in Bristol?
Oh yeah, certainly. We did a lot of publication involved with the World Cup team that was doing the promotion, and it certainly helped raise the awareness. You go to the likes of Cheltenham, Gloucester, Bristol, which are big cities down here, and more people have heard of the All Golds now. Now we've been established a year, and more people know more about rugby league just through the sheer weight of the World Cup and its marketing and promotion. Because I think there was over 8,000 people at that game at Bristol, which was a fantastic turnout in torrential downpours, which makes it even better. And it was like just about every single game in that World Cup. There were tremendous spectacles of tremendous talent.
Exactly. I mean, and did you get access to any of the information, the database of the people that lived down there that came to see or anything like that? Have you tried to sort of establish any other connections?
Yeah, the one thing that's really flourished for us is we've got a partner with South Gloucestershire and Stroud College. They have a rugby league academy, Bristol Academy Rugby League, and they've flourished. 3 of their players have joined the university this season, who were there last year, and I'd say a good 10 of their players are going to be involved within my under-19 squad this year, which just shows great progress that they're making down there. And it's also the St Peter's Core programme, which is a massive rugby school in Gloucester, which has produced England internationals such as Andy Hazel, the rugby union. They're running their own college programme for year 11, 12 and 13. They're also competing in the national College's Cup competition. They won the South West region last week, beating Bristol College, and they were going to compete against a South East College to go into the National Colleges competition.
And finally, on the first team, I guess we should talk about them while they're they're the main team there, and you're the captain. Like I said, you had some impressive performances last year. I don't know whether you quite got the wins that you'd have wanted for, but you got a couple. And what are you looking for or expecting for this year?
Oh, the main aim is to get into the playoffs massively for us. Ideally, you want to be in the top 4 because that gives you 2 bites of the cherry. But just to get into the top 6 is certainly achievable because there's only 9 teams in the league, and you only need to get out of the bottom 3, to get into that top 6 of the playoffs. So that's a massive. That's first and foremost for us. And we did the maths for it last year to get in the top 4. You only needed to win 50% of your games because the league is that tight. Anyone could knock anyone off the pedestal. Obviously, it's added competitiveness with 2 Yorkshire teams coming into the league that we didn't have last year with York and Hunslet. That'll be exciting because there's quite a few Yorkshire lads in our squad, with former York player Matt Barlow who'll be leading the side in my absence whilst I'm out with my wrist injury. And really excited to play local derbies again, like with the likes of Oxford and South Wales Scorpions, who have obviously the big move to the Maesteg Rugby Union Club.
You mentioned the 2 sides from West Yorkshire that are in there, and the the fact that you've strengthened. Do you think you have strengthened enough to push yourself further up that table? Into top 6, into top 4. Is that realistic this year? Obviously, it's a dream for everyone, but have you improved that much? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
well, it certainly feels that way. Obviously, we've not started, but that's the feeling around the camp at the minute. It's for our coach Brad Heppy last year. He inherited a student squad. Whereas this year he's formed his own squad with his own sort of players. So what you can read into that is it's a bit more of, it could be like people used to say in match day programmes, they're going to come being aggressive because they're a side of Brad Heppy's side. It is much more like that now. He likes the squad he's got together at the minute, and so there'll be probably not as many high tackles and jumping, swinging arms as Mr. Heppy used to produce, but certainly matching the levels of aggression, I think, and competitiveness.
Has he been showing you the videos, or have you been having a look?
He just constantly shows out the videos. He's like, boys, look at this. This is what I used to do,
What's it like being coached by him?
Oh, it's tremendous. He's not, obviously, he's got a wealth of rugby league experience playing in the NRLs and for the Maoris and in the Super League. But he's very philosophical. He's constantly trying to teach you about mental attitude and how to approach everything in life. So he's an all-round good guy as well.
And you mentioned your wrist injury. What's your prognosis? When are you back in the side?
Well, it's a wrist injury I picked up last season back in March, and I literally played through the whole season through it, just with painkiller injections just to get me through games. But so I had wrist reconstruction at the start of January, and I should be back, back end of April. So I should only miss 5 or 6 games, which is an exciting time for me. But so I'm still in a cast at the minute, but I should be ready and raring to go a few weeks into the season.
Well, Mike, thank you for that. Best of luck for the season. Best of luck with the recovery as well. And fingers crossed we can see you in a match-winning, all-gold side fairly soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, yeah.
So a big season ahead for the All Goals as well. A big season ahead really for everyone, isn't it? In rugby league circles with the season for 2014 just getting back underway. But best of luck to the side for this year. Fingers crossed they can get down to see the All Goals this year. I've been to the Prince of Wales Stadium, but not been to see them play there yet. I haven't been to Iffley Road either to see Oxford, so 2 things that I'm hopefully going to try and amend during the 2014 season, although things quite busy at the moment in my normal life. You may or may not know I'm currently working for the next couple of months on Late Kickoff, which is the London and South East version of the regional BBC One football programme, the Football League programme, which airs on a Monday night at 11:30. It's on, starts beginning of March. There you go, got the plug in. But that's my job at the moment, working on that for the next 3 months, which is keeping me rather busy. So getting the rugby league stuff in is a bit of a squeeze at the moment, and I'll warn you that this may not be quite a regular weekly programme over these next few months. We'll have to see how things transpire. Hopefully should have time to fit it in. I'm just putting the warning bells out there. I will do what I can. You know that for certain. So let's crack on then with this Championship 1 special. And now let's hear from the Hemel Stags. Of course, we've got the South West London Chargers later on. And hopefully we'll hear from the London Scholars as well. I haven't recorded that interview yet, so fingers crossed I can put it in the podcast when I do record the interview. But let's hear from Troy Perkins and the head coach of the Hemel Stags. Again, a playoffs, wasn't it, for the Hemel side, for the Stags last year. They built on that. They pretty much, their way of entering Championship 1 was to continue to build on the work that they'd done building a local squad, which they got through to playing in the Conference National. So held on to pretty much a core of those players. I've had a bit of a turnover, a few extra players added for 2014. But here are the thoughts then of the Hemel head coach, Troy Perkins.
Troy, well, here we are. Another season rolls round. It was all brand new and exciting this year. It's not brand new this year, but is it still as exciting?
Yeah, I think it is. I think all the boys are, they know what to expect this season, but I think everyone's really looking forward to the challenge ahead, and a couple of new teams in there in Hunslet and York, which will be big challenges. And yeah, I think the excitement's still there for me, and I think most of the boys will feel the same way.
You kept quite a good core of your squad from your National Conference Division League the season before when you played in 2013. How much have you managed to keep from last year? How much did you wanted to keep from last year going into 2014?
Yeah, I wanted to keep majority of the squad, and we've managed to do that. There isn't a lot of players that I wanted to keep that have actually left. Probably Jack Malloy's one. He's gone to play in France, and there's one or two others that have just decided not to play. And one of the journalists at Rugby League Express actually mentioned the other day that we're the only club that haven't lost any players to any other clubs, which is pretty impressive, really. Because all the boys that we had last year, as I said, have stayed, or a couple have moved abroad, and so yeah, it's been majority of the squad stays the same, and I think we've added a fair bit to it as well, which is going to make us a little bit stronger than last season.
How difficult has it been with all these negotiations, as an added extra as to what you do during your coaching? Because I guess when you're in the conference division, it wasn't, so much of an issue really. But now, it's all about trying to secure the players, trying to get the right players, and talking to, going into the market for other players that are potentially finishing contracts at other clubs.
Yeah, it's really, really time consuming. It's pretty much become the full-time job, even though I'm on a part-time wage. Even before the season actually finished, we were talking to players for this season, and it's just gone all through the winter in the same way. It's very difficult because it's not about convincing players to come to us rather than other clubs. I found it's more convincing players to give up the time that's required to play semi-professional rugby league down in the south. As I said, we didn't lose any players to any other clubs, and there were some clubs that were, approached some of our players and offered probably more money than we could, but it was more, asking the players to commit to travelling that hour and a half to training, and to committing to 12-hour days on a Sunday when we play up north. That was probably the hardest thing, rather than competing with other teams for the players that we had, or trying to bring in other players.
It may be, again, a stupid question, but does it make it any easier that you can offer money, or you are giving money, in that, we talk to people on this programme that give up their time voluntarily for community clubs and put a lot of time and effort into what they do, and, obviously it's majority done because of the love and the enjoyment of it, but has that aspect of it being semi-professional made it easier or harder?
Good question. I suppose it's made it easier in the sense that there is that financial reward, but I mean, no one plays semi-professional rugby league for the money, but it has been a little bit easier to attract players. But saying that, when we sat down at the start of last season and spoke about what we were prepared to offer players, and I said to our chairman that whether you're going to offer them, whether it's £150 a game or £400 a game or whatever it was going to be, I don't think the financial incentive would attract any more players. I think there's a pool of players in the south, and that's what we're after. So the money does make a difference, but I don't think the amount of money makes a massive difference, if you know what I mean. The financial benefits there, but I don't think anyone's coming for the money. As I said, we pay a minimal amount of money to our players, and as I said, if we paid sort of triple that, I don't think we would attract a lot more players than we have now.
And you mentioned the talent pool in the south that you're sort of dipping into. How is that talent pool at the moment? I mean, I've seen, you signing Jamal Coleman, Jermaine's brother from, West Yorkshire clubs. Was it Dewsbury that he was at? He's come down to Hemel now. You've obviously brought in experience like that, but what is the talent pool like in the south at the moment?
Yeah, it's not too bad. All the players that come through the Broncos are quality players. We've signed a young centre called Esad Al-Zabidi, and he spent the last couple of seasons at Broncos. So he's going to be pushing for a first team spot. So there is players filtering through that Broncos under-19s, but there's probably not enough to go around to the clubs now. There's obviously Scholars and Oxford, that are trying to recruit the same players. So once upon a time where all those kids that come out of Broncos, Harlequins Academy went to Scholars, and there was sort of a core of them went every season. It's not like that anymore. It's had to be sort of passed on to several clubs, which has made it a little bit harder. So we've looked at bringing in some key players in key positions, and that's why we recruit Australians as well, because we can't rely on Southerners, if as harsh as it may seem, to fill those key areas at the minute. Hopefully, down the track we will be able to. But we've recruited an Aussie hooker, another hooker from that played at Widnes and spent some time at Scholars last year, Evan Simmons, Jamel as a halfback, and an Aussie fullback, because just that experience isn't there yet. So hopefully in the years to come it will be. One player that has surprised me is Ben Young, because he's come from a rugby union ground at Northampton Saints and come to us last year, but he's really stepped up to the mark, and he even though he's only played rugby league for a couple of years, he's only 19 years old, to be a key player in our Championship 1 team in the halves is a credit to him, but there's not a lot of them around, unfortunately.
And like you say, all these players have often come through the professional structure, and the academy setup with the Broncos. I guess that sort of stalled a little bit in the last few months. It just goes to show, I guess, how important that continuation and the expanding of a setup like that is, whether there's RFL involvement or, the structure across London, not just in northwest London where Broncos are now based. But the bigger that academy can be, the easier it's going to be, isn't it, to put the local players into sides like yourself and Scholars and Oxford.
Yeah, massively. That's why it's so important for Broncos to continue and to continue in Super League. If Broncos get relegated, the thing is, do the kids that are joining those academies, when there's no, they're aspiring to play Super League, a lot of them, whether, not many of them will, but, players that go from rugby union to Broncos Academy have got dreams of playing Super League, and if Broncos are in Championship next year, I don't know whether they'll be able to attract the same players, unfortunately. So it's important that they remain in Super League, and it's going to be, obviously we all know, a pretty big task for them. But from my point of view, it's so important that we start getting those players that don't make the cut in their full-time squad, but they filter to us and Scholars and Oxford and all the other clubs.
It's interesting to get the full range of the opinions as to what people think of if Broncos were to be relegated. Like you say, they've got a tough season ahead of them. I guess one of the biggest impacts could be that with a reduced budget, reduced money, there are clubs in the Championship that don't decide to run academies, if I'm not mistaken. Therefore, that would be the danger, wouldn't it? That the money would be saved from elsewhere if they were to play in, the second division. The Championship, the academy wouldn't be what it is now, and you wouldn't get that player pool, and dare I say that the rest of the London teams aren't going to collapse around it. Right. But that really is going to stall to the growth, isn't it? Yeah,
100%, and that's a concern. I think the RFL know that as well, and I think there is sort of plans in place to run an academy sort of funded and sort of run by the RFL down the track. I think that was in place this year if Broncos didn't get to the starting line. So I think that's still there. But you know, as everyone knows, the kids join academies aspiring to play Super League or whether it's Premiership Rugby or whatever it is, and without that carrot dangling there in front of them, it doesn't have the same attraction. You know, it's just like us. If Hemel in Super League, would be getting, you know, a lot better quality junior coming to us. That's the thing, and without the carrot there as a Super League position, it could sort of, you know, be an issue for their academy, yeah. And then that filters through to all the other surrounding clubs.
And I suppose we should really talk about on-the-field matters as well. Obviously, the season starts this weekend. You've already said you're excited. You can't wait to get stuck in and get going. How are you expecting your side to do this year?
Yeah, it's next weekend we play.
Sorry, next weekend.
Yeah. I think we're heading in the right direction to have another good season. As I said, we've recruited really well in some key areas. And I think, you know, for the players having a season under their belt at this level will be the, you know, the better for it. So we're really looking forward to it. And as I said, I don't want to, you know, throw out any rash statements, but I think we should be looking to improve on last year. I mean, it's going to be difficult because of your Yorks and Hunslet and teams like that. You know, are desperate to get into that championship next year with the winner being promoted, and they've spent a lot of money with the assistance of, you know, we play Hunslet the first game of the season and they could have 5 Leeds Rhinos in their squad. You know, so it's going to make it very difficult for us. But as I said, you know, I'm quite happy with the squad we've put together. There's more experience than last year, and as you mentioned, you know, we've got Jamel for the season. We've signed another guy called Michael Brown who's from up north, spent time at Huddersfield and Leeds academies and played a lot of Championship 1 rugby. So players like that have been really good for the group. They've just added that bit more professionalism and just that bit more experience in training, and that's what we needed, which we still lacked a bit last year. You know, and you know, the more players we can attract of that sort of calibre, the better we're going to be. But it's hard to attract players from up north. It'd be different if you were, you know, offering them full-time contracts or whatever. But obviously we can't do that. So you know, Jamel's moved down and looking for opportunity, and Michael's in London, has been for the last 6 months. So they sort of they fitted the bill nicely. But it is hard to attract those northern players that have come through those good systems.
And your side have had a couple of good run-outs, haven't they, ahead of the season? I don't think they're going to be too much short of particular match fitness. You've had a couple of runs out. You wanted to get a game against the Broncos side, which you managed to do, so credit to you for that. And you had a run-out against the South East Students, was it, at the weekend?
Yeah.
How were they? You know, I guess the student scene is a good measure of really how things are going in the South.
Yeah, they were all right. I suppose probably 4 of their best players were guys that are in our club at Hemel, which was impressive. But yeah, I mean, they'll be competitive in their Students' Championship in a couple of weeks. We just started off real well, and we got out. I think we led by 26 points after 20 minutes, and that really set the tone and blew them off the field. But they dug deep and they kept going, and I think the final score was 66-6. But I was impressed with how our guys went. You know, but also impressed with those young guys. They never give up and kept battling hard, and you know, physically they were inferior to us, but they never shirked their task. The week before we played Broncos, and that was an under-19s team, and I was pretty impressed with how we went that day as well. In the rain, we won pretty convincingly, and again, we can't sort of read into it too much because they're an under-19s team, but they proved that they competed really well against Widnes last weekend. So they, you know, they'll win plenty of games. So that was a good hit out for us, and probably the major issue for us that we missed the Crusaders game due to a waterlogged pitch, because that would have been a really, really good test of a good physical test against a good championship team, and it would have sort of showed us where we were at. But unfortunately, we missed that game, and you know, we've had to play against teams that sort of under 19s, and the students are all 21 and under. So, you know, that we didn't get to play against an open age team, unfortunately. But that's just the way it is.
another interesting season ahead for another of our clubs. Thank you for Troy for sparing the time to talk to us. Best of luck again to Hemel for this season. And now on to the London Scholars. Hopefully, if I have recorded an interview with Hector McNeil, the chief executive of the London Scholars. You're about to hear it right now. I was been texting him. He's in Jamaica. We were going to try and catch up on Skype. Now, if we did catch up, here it is. It sounds like, from chatting with Howard about your pitch and all sorts, you've got quite a busy year coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, I think this could be a real turning point year for the Scholars, really. I mean, we've been at New River Stadium since 1997, and I think every year since then I've sort of hoped and prayed that the council will get around to renovating it. You know, it's a 44-acre site in Zone 3 of London, and rugby league is a primary sport played there, and it's finally come true.
It's great as well that they're obviously considering you to be a stakeholder in that facility, in the fact that they're putting this pitch in for you. Of course, they'll get other use out of it, but you're going to be a primary user of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think to be frank, I think we are the anchor tenant, but also I think that any sporting facility that tries to make money from a grass and dirt pitch anymore, just can't survive. If you've got a 4G pitch now, you can make $300-400 grand a year on top of what you are doing for just letting out to people playing footballs and other sports. So it makes absolute sense for a community stadium to be used that way.
I guess the question is, have you figured out where you're going to be able to play your games for the few months that you're not able to play at the New River?
Yeah, well, I think we'd love to play somewhere relatively local, such as Saracens Amateurs up at Bramley Road or Finchley or something like that. But the problem is, they're predominantly winter sports, and they're facilities that are used in the summer for things like cricket, etc. So that's proven a bit of a headache. And this truncated Championship 1 season with only 9 teams doesn't help either, because you don't have back-to-back games. So I think we're really, trying to be pragmatic and look at what we can do. We did have a game at Maidenhead last week against Oxford, and that certainly was a facility that we could look at. Hillingdon is a backup as well, given that the company that's running New River now, Fusion, they've already got a similar setup over Hillingdon, but we'd like to try and keep as close as we can. And I think as well, we'd like to explore with the Broncos having, at least 1 to 2 double headers as well, which I think would be a cracking way to solve the problem.
Absolutely. And in terms of your season, and what about your squad this year? You've obviously had a couple of big holes to fill, really, with Dylan Ski, and the likes of James Anthony causing waves down under. Big holes to fill.
Yeah. It did give me a big smile on my face last week with James Anthony, because
it's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, I've loved him as a player, and it came from nowhere, to be honest. I didn't have any view. I know he's a great player. We're not exactly blessed with outside backs in the UK, so it's great if he can push on and prove everybody wrong and show what London can make, then that would be fantastic, certainly Dylan and James were mainstays for us, point scoring machines, leaders on the field, all sorts, and real quality players at any level, and even Dylan, I would argue, is London produced, so it's a shame, but dynasties and things move on, right, we brought in Matt Bradley, who by all accounts, I've not seen him myself play, but here he's an excellent player, great kicking game, which obviously was the major thing Dylan had, that we didn't want to lose. I think he was the highest point scorer in the Championship 1 last year. So, we fill holes with those. We got Lamont Bryant back, who I think, at any measure is fantastic for Championship 1, and we've got a star signing we're going to be announcing in the next couple of days as well, a big Islander who's has some great experience in the Championship, who I think will steamroller through Championship 1. So we've got, we'll probably have the biggest pack we've ever had, to be honest. So we may have to play a different style of game, but I think we'll still be competitive. And Joe Mabu, he's into his 4th year now, and he's a seasoned campaigner now. He knew what it took to play at the highest level, and I think he certainly knows what it takes to put a team together. And we've got some really exciting youngsters coming through as well. I mean, we've got 3 or 4 lads that we brought up from, our victorious under-19s last year, and treble winners, and that's really what we want to try and do for the future, is bring more of these guys through and show what we can do. I mean, we've got teams from under-7 all the way up to under-20s now at Scholars. So we've really got a production line we want to see coming through.
You've probably covered off a few of the questions that I was going to ask you and all that. So thank you, Hector. I guess we'll move on to the restructure. And one team from Championship 1 will be promoted next year to the New Look Championship. It's going to be an interesting Championship 1 division next year. Are you looking at promotion this year? Is that somewhere where you'd want to be, or really you want to consolidate in Championship 1?
Yeah, well, I think we were dead unlucky last year when we lost by 2 points to Rochdale, and those guys ended up going up, and we should have really beaten them in that game. It was the last set of 6, which if the lads had seen through, we would have won that game, and quite rightly so as well. We played out of our skins, and I think that was our sort of grand final, and the Oldham game the week after we got hammered, but I don't really put that down to the performance of the lads. I think that was one game too far for us, really. So I think I think this year we'll have to wait and see. I'd like to think we could be up there. I certainly think a decent playoff position is a must. And then really it's about the roll of the dice, and I think we've strengthened the squad. We've got some quality players in with some more coming through, I think, as well. I think that we've strengthened our relationship with the Broncos as well, where I think that they've sort of realised that they should be focusing on one team in Championship 1 to do the dual contracts, and that should hold us in good stay. And I think that probably if we'd had someone like Mason, in our ranks, and hadn't been, those troops hadn't been spread around the region, I think we could have pushed on even more last year. So hopefully, we've made some good building blocks that we can push on and be up there with the division. I mean, the unknowns really are going to be the 2 teams coming down. I mean, Oldham will be competitive, obviously. I don't think out of the 3, what I call traditional teams, I don't think any of them will be the quality of North Wales Crusaders, but I could be wrong. But I think that it'll be between 4 or 5 teams, I think, this year, which should make it exciting at least.
And as we mentioned as well, it'd be great to see in a new structural league, a new way of going about things in this country, and potentially a London or Southern side in Super League, Championship, or Championship 1, however it works out. The top 3 divisions. Although to be fair, that all depends on Broncos staying up.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, personally, I think that the game should be making that happen, whether it's naturally or synthetically. I think that's the structure that should be here, and London should be as strong as it can be. And with the player base we have here and the resources we have here, I do think we could put 3 competitive teams out at all the levels. I think by us all competing with each other, I think that's extremely difficult to do that because I mean, obviously, it becomes a fight with all of us, and that's not really the best way forward. I've said this for a long time, to be honest, and I don't think it's down to the Scholars to do it alone. I don't think it's down to Broncos to do it alone. I don't think it's down to Hemel to do it alone. I think this should be part of a strategic vision, that the game has to have for the South and London, and I mean, as I often say, London's, arguably the capital city of the world, if not definitely the capital city of Europe. And if we're not, as well represented as we can be down here, then we're failing the game generally, I believe.
Well, Hector, thank you for talking to us all the way from Jamaica. Am I allowed to ask you why you're out there? I guess it's a business purpose.
Well, I'm scouting some players, actually, Ian. No, I'm only joking. I'm on holiday at half term, but I do actually hope to take in a game, actually, because
oh, really?
From what I understand, the Jamaican college league is underway, so I'm hoping to get to a game, because I think I've told you before I'm quite involved with Ghana Rugby League.
Yes, of course.
And obviously the majority of people that came over here through the slave trade came from West Africa. So, in some ways, I think that'd be a great game to see one day. Ghana versus Jamaica. And all the historical connotations there would be fantastic. So yeah, I hope to get a game. And I think that if I do see a couple of lads, and who knows? You never know. We've had a good history of West Indies players in the Scholars. So hopefully we can add a few more.
And talking of Jamaican sports, just put it in context, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here. We've waited all day to have a chat. I've just been watching, in fact, the Jamaican bobsleigh team. That historic footage from, was it 88 when they crashed, but the inspiration for Cool Runnings. So I was swatting upon my Jamaican sports before we chatted.
Well, they've got an amusement park here, and the key ride on the roller coaster is the bobsleigh. So
really?
It's very well talked about and very famous here. There's no doubt about that.
Is it a bumpy ride?
It's a bumpy ride, but there isn't much snow. Put it that way.
So, that was worth waiting for, wasn't it? The chief executive of the London Scholars, Hector McNeil, live when I spoke to him at least, from Jamaica. It sounds like they've got a few exciting announcements up their sleeves, looking at potential places to play as well. It's going to be a bit of a topsy-turvy season for them, I guess, in terms of where they'll play, but hopefully a good season on the field for the London Scholars in 2014. And as Hector says, just wait till the season gets going. You just never know. And they do have an extraordinarily big pack. When you look at what North Wales Crusaders did last year with a very dominant, strong pack, London Scholars could be onto something this year. And now then, to the South West London Chargers, the final part of this special Rugby League Down South programme. We haven't mentioned too much about the Broncos so far this programme, but that was not, I dare say, not. But it was purposeful, but not purposeful in that way. Next week, we will look at the Broncos' first home game of the season. Everyone will be able to go. If you go, are planning to go, you'll be able to see the Hive, see the match day experience. Then we'll get your thoughts on what you make of it, what you make of the side, having seen them in the flesh. I didn't see the game at the weekend, have seen highlights on the Super League website. But yes, I think that we will wait until next week to really dissect the Broncos, and I'll get a few interviews when I'm up at the Hive. I almost said the Stoop then, when I'm up at the Hive at the weekend. Just a few comments that I did see on Saturday, having seen a few people say a few different things on social media after the Broncos' defeat at Widnes. Again, not the ideal way to start the season. In fact, Hector McNeil of the Scholars saying, I think it'll take up to 10 games, he says. I'm sure Tony will bring in more as well. Phil saying, I think anyone who expected a win is mentally ill. A bit harsh, but my target was to lose by 30, so still a little bit more than that, wasn't it? Scott Moore on Twitter saying a massive thank you to the London fans that made the journey to the games. Appreciated. Sorry about the result. On to round 2, he says. Dave saying good effort by the 19s as well, given the number of kids that have made it into the first team this year. Yes, the Broncos Academy losing 28-22 at Widnes, so lots of positive stuff coming from the 19s again this year. Fingers crossed they can have a good season. It was all very close, and they early on in the season last year, as I remember, they didn't get a win until a few rounds in, but fingers crossed that can change this year. And Richard saying the first 5 games for the 19s, in fact, are going to be at Hemel. Somebody asked where the under-19s are going to be playing. The first 5 games are going to be at Hemel, and it'll be decided from there what happens or where the under-19s then play in the future. But yeah, more on Broncos next week is what I was trying to say. But of course, as ever, if you want to send me your thoughts, email rldownsouth@gmail.com or on tweet @Ian Ramsdale using the hashtag RLDS. And we'll include them in the programme next week. So we will now get on to the South West London Chargers. We're following the road to Wembley, aren't we? That's what they call it. The South West London Chargers played the Torbay Tigers of Wales in the first round of the Challenge Cup. I said we'll support the London team in the first round, but whoever then wins in subsequent rounds, we'll follow them all the way through to the final. So it's now the second round game, and the Chargers go up against the National Conference League Division 1 side, Milford Marlins of
Kirkstall in Leeds are going to be a very big side, I think. So not going to be an easy game for them, but there's the dangling carrot there of a potential draw against a Championship side in round 3. And who knows, if the draw favours you, you may well see yourself, ended up in the 4th round draw. Now, that's a big thing for an amateur club. It's a long way away. This is not going to be an easy game for the Chargers. But I think they're rather confident. So let's hear from their head coach, a man who, if you've listened to this programme for a number of years, and it's BBC Times as well, you'll know the name, Mark Barnes. He's the coach, formerly the coach of the West London Sharks before the merger and the formation of a new team, South West London Chargers, when they sort of combined with the South London Storm. So here is Barnesy, as he's known, on the game ahead for the Chargers. And first of all, I couldn't help but have a bit of a quick catch-up, because it had been quite a while since we'd last talked.
No, it is good to be involved, and I enjoy the atmosphere, of the rugby league, and just with the boys themselves. It's a great setup and a great bunch of boys, so it is good to be involved with it.
And how is it going? I won't say sort of this season, but it was all new, wasn't it, last year? But it does seem like things have picked up the best parts of both the clubs that it was formed out of, and sort of carried on a very positive note.
And it's been brilliant to bring sort of two clubs together that traditionally, especially in London, were very successful and very strong. And to bring those two clubs together was always going to be a difficult task. But everyone sort of gelled in well, and there was a lot of work between me and Cam and a few other boys behind the scenes that sort of really got it up and running. And from then on, first couple of weeks was a bit rocky. I spent a week away. I spent 4 weeks away in Australia before we started, so it made it a bit tough. But then got back into it, and it's been great ever since.
So you're coaching them, and what excitement this year, because you're in the Challenge Cup, having successfully won the Harry Jepson Trophy last year, and another time that you've won it personally. But now you're in the Challenge Cup, and a great opportunity again to have a good game, showcase the game in West London, and possibly progress through.
It is. It's brilliant, and to be involved in the Challenge Cup itself, it's always a thrill. I've been involved with the Queen's Broncos as well as Hull KR. But to be involved with an amateur team, it's special as well. To what we've done last year, and to continue that on again this year, it's a great thrill. I know the boys are really excited about it as well, so we're looking forward to it, especially this Saturday.
How good was the game? Well, I say how good or how close was it? It was 12-6, wasn't it, your first round game against the Torbain Tigers of Wales? It sounds like a classic on paper.
It was a tough game. The conditions sort of didn't help. They were in the same boat as us, where they were finding it. Well, they hadn't played probably for 4 or 5 months, and that was our first game. So it was always going to be tough in terms of getting back into the swing of things. But it was a tough encounter. They're a very good team. I suppose they scored in the last 10 seconds or so to make it 12-6. But it was tough. It was a tough game for the boys. So yeah, it was great.
And what are you expecting out of Milford Marlins, from the Heartlands, from Kirkstall in Leeds? They're going to be a tough side, aren't they?
They're going to be very physical. They're going to be well drilled and physical, and know their rugby league. So it's going to be a tough game for us. But we've been working hard on what we have to do as well. So the most important thing is that we concentrate on us and just worry about what we've got to do. And whatever presents itself on the field, we have a look at it then, but I'm quite confident we'll do well.
And you guys are busy enough as it is in your real lives, but what's it been like having to start pre-season so early?
Busy. We don't normally start until probably mid-March sometimes, so to get the facility, because it's hard to get a facility, especially because we use a union team, so to get the facility during the week, it's been great. They've been really good to us, Chiswick Rugby Club, and they've helped out. And then, training on the common on a Sunday morning, which it's a difficult task to do on a Sunday morning, knowing that the boys like to venture out at different parts of London, but to get them all there in one place at one time, it's a big achievement for the boys. So, yeah, it's been great.
And you had a fairly good turnout, I think, didn't you, for the first round game? You'll no doubt hope that more people can come along. And it's Saturday afternoon, is it 2 o'clock at Chiswick Rugby Club?
It's 2 o'clock. It is 2 o'clock, yeah. So Yeah, we did a really great turnout last week, considering the weather and the conditions and everything else. So, but we had a great turnout. It was good support. We've got a real good support as well. Even though we've only a young club, we've got some real good people who come out and support us. So hopefully we can sort of add to that again this weekend.
And I suppose the question has been, how come you've had to play the game on the same day that the Broncos are having their first game at their new home? I guess that's something that did you want to play on a different day, or was this the only option you had?
Notice the day that was. It was either Saturday or Sunday, and I think most boys, and I think for them as well, to travel down on the Saturday a little bit easier. There's nothing worse. I know travelling down Sunday and going back Sunday, they've got to go to work again on Monday, so it makes it tough. So that was a logical day for them and for us as well. It just coincided with the Broncos, their first home game, so it was just one of those things.
I guess you've probably got enough to consider, as well as adding in the prospect of where the Broncos are playing. It must be quite difficult to get everything in process and in place for you to play your games, regardless of whatever else is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we're all volunteers, so everyone puts their hand up to do something. We all help out, fixing the fields up, putting everything out, cooking, the work. So it's a big job for us just to get things going and up and running. So. But we all pull together, and it's great. Like I said, it's a great atmosphere at the club at the moment, so hopefully it'll continue on like that.
Well, it's great to talk to you. Great to catch up again, and best of luck to you and the side on Saturday. You'll be coaching the side. Do you still play as well, Mark, or you're more on the touchline now?
I've been known to put the boots on every now and then, but at the moment I'll just coach, mate, this year probably. So. It's always nice to put the boots on and have a run around with your mates and enjoy what you do, but it's come to the point now, we're a small family as well, so I've got to look after that and look after them and stay healthy, so I'll just coach this year.
I guess if you win this one as well, there's the prospect of a championship club lying ahead, possible a London derby.
It could be. You never know how the draw would end up, it's great to get through this round and then have a look at the next round. There's the possibilities of the Oxfords or the London Scholars, which would be great as well, or there's Gloucestershire as well. So it would be nice to sort of get through this and have a look at that. It'd be brilliant.
Mark Barnes, then, of the South West London Chargers. Great to catch up with, Barnesy, and best of luck at the weekend. If you aren't going to the Hive, maybe you want to go to Chiswick on Saturday, 2 o'clock kickoff, as we say. Chiswick Rugby Club. It's on Dan Mason Drive in W4. South West London Chargers versus the Milford Marlins. We'll see who will be following into round 3 of the Challenge Cup competition. And that's it then for another Rugby League Down South episode. Once again, thank you for your support. Don't forget there is now a Facebook page for Rugby League Down South. If you search us out, give us a like, share the content, have a look at some photos on there. There's various bits of information. I will post more as the season goes. Your thoughts and comments and discussions would be more than welcome on the page, so use it as you will. So yes, on Facebook, it's actually facebook.com/Rugby League Down South. But if you do a search for Rugby League Down South, you will also find it. Like I say, thank you very much once again for listening. I'll be back next week with another in-depth look at the Broncos after their first home game.